Ah, online gambling. If there's one thing I like more than video games, it's online gambling. But I don't really get the whole Vegas experience by staying at home, smoking cigarettes, and shooting virtual craps. Call me old-fashioned, but I think we've created a disconnect between gamblers and the culture of gambling. Las Vegas is somewhere I've never been, but movies have led me to believe it's full of cocaine, penny slots, prostitutes, and fading celebrities trying to break into casino vaults, and I just want all of that. It's honestly a pity I can throw all my money into online casinos without all of that, sin thing going on. I really want to have the full experience. But since I can't take a trip to Vegas after a recent medical diagnosis of losing all my money to online poker, I'm gonna have to try something else. So like any normal adult would do, I've decided to put my unfulfilled desires and aspirations on the things I love. In particular, video games. That's right, besides arcade games that make you gamble on whether or not the machine will eat your quarter, video games have been doing gambling for decades, and I'm on the trail of the best ones. These will be judged based on the variety of games available, their overall ambience, and the integration of the gambling into other aspects of gameplay. But this is by no means a well-researched deep dive into video game slots, but is instead one man's journey to virtual Vegas. Naturally, right off the bat, there's a joke to be had about loot boxes, and how it relates to actual real-world money being used in video games. And while that does have a certain, criminal sleaze to it, this isn't a clickbait video about Battlefront 2, so we'll instead move on to another, better Star Wars game, which is KOTOR in its games of Pazaak. Pazaak? Pazaak. Okay. Something that's entirely optional and that I never actually played or mentioned in my review of KOTOR that I did a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Get it? Star Wars joke.
Why does he do this to me? Why does he do this to me? Why does he do this to me?
I tried it once in the second game, and it's what I like to call aggressively not for me. It's not that it's bad, or unfair, or even unlikable. It's just relatively surface level, and considering that it's a fictional card game built around fictional cards, it's hard to really prepare or put the same weight on specific cards as you do in real life. Something like this,
Green Celadon, you would have beaten this.
doesn't seem to have the same tension or feeling as this. Not just because I play Texas Hold'em online every evening, or because Casino Royale is a better film than Solo, that's a debate for a different day, but also because I know the cultural weight of an ace of spade, and I know that beating out a hand like that is a big deal. Also, having the majority of the games exist through either dialogue trees with roguish types or within cantinas doesn't really give the same feeling as a fancy casino. I mean, the sleaze is here for sure, but something is missing. Borderlands 2 has sleaze though, and Moxxi's bar has its fair share of slot machines. And while it's only technically one type of gambling, it also has the whole ambience thing going on. It's not exactly Vegas, but the idea of getting pissed drunk and throwing pennies into slots at a place like Moxxi's at least feels reminiscent of like a gas station in Wyoming that sells cheap cigarettes, hoagies, and butterfly knives that just so happens to have a single broken slot machine outside. Like, it's definitely a part of the culture, if not the most glamorous part. And having it happen with a button prompt and not loading a minigame makes it feel more a part of the world, which is a welcome addition. Just being able to hit a few slots and having a tangible reward beyond just cash, which doesn't hold a huge value in a game designed around excess, is a super cool touch. The random procedurally generated cornerstone of the Borderlands franchise shows up here, and it plays really well into the whole luck part of slots. Other games like Duke Nukem and Payday 2 have slot machines, but they don't really do much. And while it would be easy for Borderlands to do the same, it's nice to see them go the extra mile for something so minor. Pokemon had the whole game corner for the first 4 generations, but I don't know how to unpack the whole I'm a pre-adolescent kid who's allowed to play slots and win a 4-foot-tall bug with knives for hands thing. Like, I'm no cop, and I believe that kids should be allowed to be dealt a hand of poker at the same age that they can be dealt a hand of patty cake, but still, have some class, Red. Incredibly minor side note, but the slot machines don't always actually stop when you press A, but will instead occasionally slip for about a fifth of a second, which is within Japanese slot machine regulations. Also, different machines have better odds, so as far as, emulation of real-world gambling goes, Pokemon does a pretty good job. And by pretty good job, I mean that these slots are a nightmare to win anything on, and as someone who enjoys a bit of, instant gratification, I find myself buying a buttload of tokens instead and then just using them to get whatever Pokemon I want. There's games like Mario Party, which have this flashy facade and give the illusion of being royally fucked by Lady Luck, and what you're betting on is your ability to maintain friendships after getting beat in a children's game, and while that definitely has real-world stakes, as someone who just lost all of his money to online gambling, I don't really need to lose all my friends too. There's a huge culture of games that are just digital versions of card games like Telltale's Poker Night at the Inventory and the official World Series of Poker, a game that's given to every used video game store upon opening, along with that one poster from San Andreas that they hang behind the cash register. It's next to like a Pickle Rick plushie and a CRT TV playing Melee. And while they are definitely gambling games with a hard G and they have ambience and fun factor, there really isn't much else to them. They seem like an easy win for me, a guy who likes a good gamble. But when so many games incorporated as a minigame or side quest, there's really no reason for me to play them unless I just really want to win Borderlands skins or beat Ash Williams in Texas Hold'em. Which, hey, I'm not saying I don't want to beat him in poker. I just think that there's better things we could both be doing with our time. And speaking of better things we could be doing with our time, the port/remake of Mario 64 on the DS has a slew of casino games hiding on there. As if to say, yeah, Mario 64 isn't the only thing we can put on the DS. You know what else will work? Roulette. Dakota swears up and down that he, and I quote, robbed the blackjack table blind, which I think is just his way of saying he got bullied in middle school. But hey, what do I know? Mario games have always had this weird connection with gambling, mostly with slot machines, and I do think it's kind of a cool little mini game to have. It breaks up monotony for a brief moment, and oftentimes connects with the usual gameplay loop by having Mario jump into the reels or throw his hat like in Super Mario 3D World and Odyssey respectively. While they don't have a huge impact and often can only be played once, they do a good job at being a minor distraction while also being a subtle reminder of where Nintendo came from. Illegal gambling. It's illegal gambling. While on the topic of Mario and the games he plays, both Mario and his Olympic competitor Sonic have whole levels dedicated to the casino facade with their games Super Mario Sunshine and Sonic 2. And I really like both of these, even if Mario's in that whole Secret of Blank series of levels, which, I mean, not to get off topic, but these are the worst part of Sunshine. Taken as a whole, Super Mario Sunshine is this glorious, wet, and sunny experience that puts the fucking sand in 3D sandbox. But with these, we get the exact opposite of that. It's usually fucking nighttime, I don't have the cool flood pack, and I'm forced along a linear path. Taking away what makes a game great isn't challenging, Nintendo, it's fucking asinine. Sonic's is okay, I guess. I mean, it resembles a pinball machine about as much as it resembles a casino, but I can understand how those two things would fit together. He also had one in Sonic Heroes, but I'm saving up on my 3D Sonic talk for my Shadow the Hedgehog 2 episode. If you look up in a thesaurus what the opposite of Mario is, you'd probably get a guy who looks a little something like John Marston. I mean, I guess both are adventurers with facial hair and cool hats. What I'm saying is I'm segueing into talking about Red Dead Redemption's firm grasp on gambling. The first game has some pretty cool instances of it, including Liar's Dice, which is just Yahtzee for people who spend their allowance on Old English, but Red Dead Redemption 2 has the whole riverboat casino heist. A super fucking fun journey into the turn-of-the-century high society, and an incredible illustration of just how much the world is changing. Arts, commerce, and cleanliness are coming to the West, and this lot of sweaty guys wearing animal pelts and leather like it's fucking Burning Man or something don't really have a place here anymore. And what better way to show that than by making them shave and shoving them into a tuxedo like a 4-year-old ring bearer. And having this whole mission of you, A, going undercover and cheating a high roller out of some money, and B, pulling an ocean by robbing the joint is how you comfortably incorporate your theming into your gambling. And really, truly, Red Dead Redemption not being the winner of the Vegas experience is a huge cop-out on my part, because there's honestly an obvious answer. One with enough squalor, crime, neon, and big band music to get us demonetized in style. That's right, it's Fallout New Vegas. I know it, you know it, But no game accurately takes the whole feeling of being a gambler, of going to Vegas, and of having an allergy to good, clean living than Fallout New Vegas. The way it structures Freeside makes the essence of Vegas feel exclusionary, something to be achieved, the anti-Holy Land that this lawless waste aspires to. The petty crime of the outside world is swatted away easily and is replaced with smuggling, prostitution, and cannibalism. And while for sure a lot of the casinos feel a little empty, they have a huge amount of different games that, depending on your luck score, can make you feel like the guy from that movie 21, or like me at 4 a.m. after dumping my entire check into blackjack on a site that is by no means secure enough to handle my credit card information. And once you get really good and make a lot of money, you'll actually have casinos cut you off. They won't like break your legs for counting cards or anything, but it feels like a reminder that sometimes the house doesn't always win. And even if the actual gambling isn't required, once you get to the mid to late game, a vast majority of your time is spent moving throughout the strips, getting side quests involving hostile takeovers and talent scouting, which falls in line with the culture I love so much. And having this other proprietary card game that is Caravan that's mostly played outside of the strips makes the gambling feel like it's bled into the rest of the region. Like even if we aren't in the strip and aren't able to sit at the high roll table, we're still gonna play a couple rounds together here in this abandoned gas station because we like to gamble. And having Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra is such an obvious choice to make you feel like a cool-ass Vegas tourist. So much of this 1940s and 50s vibe is present within New Vegas, which sure is also there in other Fallout games, but the usual flavor of Cold War paranoia and suburban home life is replaced with the vice and leisure culture. And the whole post-apocalyptic thing makes the gold feel chipped and the thousands of light bulbs cracked, to remind you that this isn't some form of welcome relief from the outside world, but it's concentrated the outside problems and organized it on a massive scale. Gambling in video games comes in all shapes and sizes, and while I like my gambling in this very specific way that New Vegas does, it doesn't really always have to be like this. It's an excellent way to establish tone or convey themes or just get a shot at a quick buck. And it's something I like to do in games to break up the gameplay loop and unwind for a minute, and maybe get a leg up on resource scarcity. It sounds so, I guess, cheesy to say that I have to relax while playing a video game, but I like it. And when it's optional, I really enjoy playing a few rounds of roulette or blackjack. But if you need me, I found a $5 bill in my pocket, and word on the street is the 7-Eleven on Main Street has the loosest slots in the tri-state area. So I'll be there, winning back the rent money I lost betting on dog racing. Let me know down below what your favorite gambling minigames are, and be sure to subscribe. That whole bit about doing an episode on Shadow the Hedgehog 2 wasn't actually a joke, and you don't want to miss it. Ah shit, I forgot Cuphead.